If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm today to get started. Hello, self-developers, and welcome to the Patrick Kelly Podcast for Self-Development, where I will be reviewing audible books on self-development that can change your life for the better this year and years to come. It is said that if we keep on doing what we always did, we will keep on getting what we always got. In other words, to change our output, we first have to change our input. Today is July 31st, 2022, and this is episode 31 of season 2. And today we'll be reviewing the audible book Conversational Charisma by Brad Worthley. This audible book will teach you the principles of establishing conversational charisma so you can become a better communicator with people. Being a great communicator and getting people to develop an emotional attraction to you is more attitude than aptitude. Your mind is like a parachute. It only functions when it is open.
Principle number 1.
Being a great listener. Being a great listener is a hard skill to perfect, but well worth the energy. People usually don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is what listening to people does. It shows that you have an interest in them. Always be willing to ask people about themselves and then let them talk. Once they stop talking, ask them another question to keep them talking, and they will feel that they had a wonderful conversation with you because the subject of the conversation was about them. In the world of human communication, there are 3 levels of listening. 1 is all about talking to yourself, which is defined as self-talk, and you listening to yourself more than the person that you are communicating with. 2 is all about them because your self-talk is minimal. Listening to the other person means that you are being present and you are actively listening to the other person. 3 is just like level 2, which means that you are listening with the other person but with a third ear. You are homing in on their tonality to find out what a person is really trying to tell you. For example,
Gloria, would you like to watch the children tomorrow while I go to the movies with Jim and Gary?
Sure, I can do that for you.
As you can see in Gloria's tonality, she really does not want to watch your kids while you go to the movies with your friends. Level 3 also involves body language. Try to figure out if what the other person is telling me is in line with their body language.
Principle number 2.
Judgment. First impressions are lasting impressions. 75% of how we get interpreted is based on how we look. Try to dress the part. How you look can determine how you feel. When you dress good, you feel good. Judgment is based on perception. Perception is determined by our actions. Actions do speak louder than words. We are mostly judged on what we do than what we say. Our perception becomes our reality. When you treat a person as they are, they remain as they are. When you treat a person as they could be, they may become the person they should be.
Principle number 3.
Handling people. Angry people want to be heard. Listen and do not interrupt them. Always ask closed-ended questions that solicit a yes or no answer to control the conversation. Empathize and apologize if it is warranted to do so. Focus on solutions and not blaming who is at fault. Do not take passive people for granted. If you have an angry customer or client who is unhappy with you, they will not complain, they just won't return. Listen carefully for the whispers because you may never be able to hear the screams. Social people love to talk. When dealing with social people, ask closed-ended questions in order to control the conversation. A social person will talk all day if you let them. Keep the conversation to one topic or the conversation can get out of hand. An analytical person just wants the facts and not be bothered with small talk. The more information an analytical person gets, the easier it is for them to make a decision. Most analytical people are visual learners, so give them enough time to visualize the information in their mind.
Announcement.
If you ever wanted to live in New York or visit New York City, there is a new audible book called New York, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Truth coming in August 2022. This audible book will give you all the detailed information you will need before you make a decision on whether New York City is the right place for you. And now, back to our podcast.
Principle number 4.
Learning styles. There are 3 learning styles. When dealing with a group, use all 3 learning styles. When you are dealing with a person one-on-one, you must know and figure out their learning style. The 3 learning styles are visual, audible, and kinesthetic. Visual learners think in pictures and like to look at information in order to learn. They will use language like,
I see what you mean. That looks good to me. Show me what to do.
Auditory people listen in order to learn. They will use language like,
That sounds good to me.
That rings a bell, like music to my ears.
Kinesthetic people are hands-on learners. They need to be taught step by step what to do. They will use language like,
Walk me through this. I feel like I'm catching on. That's a good fit for me.
listen to what people are telling you about them so you can learn their learning style. Closing thoughts. On a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this audible book a 5 for providing 4 principles on how to become a conversational, charismatic communicator. To find out more about this audible book, go to www.audible.com and download this audible book, or go to www.bradworthley.com to find out more information and other books written by the author. Remember to hit the subscribe button as you listen to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you do not miss an episode. And also remember to please share this episode via text or email with friends and family and other people that you care about. Follow me on Twitter at Kelly Podcast or Instagram at PatrickKelly_podcast. For more episodes of the Patrick Kelly Podcast for self-development, go to www.thepatrickkellypodcast.com. If you'd like to donate $1 or more to the support of this podcast, click the donate button at www.thepatrickkellypodcast.com or go to $Patrick Kelly Podcast on Cash App, and I'll be sure to thank you on the next episode. This is the end of this podcast for today. Tune in next week Sunday for the next episode and the next audible book of over 300 books that I'll be reviewing on the Patrick Kelly Podcast for self-development. If you enjoyed this podcast, take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. This really helps me out. Feel free to share this podcast with someone you care about. And remember, your life does not get better by chance, it gets better by change. Take care.